and just keeping those 2 boxes just for the Okay, so in part 1 you may have seen that my propagation boxes were a little bit full, so I have bought myself another bigger propagation box. This one here, just a shallow box with a nice flip lid, and this one actually, the lid opens in half, so that's handy. So I've got a new box. I have taken some cuttings of the plants that I want to propagate. I have a couple of watermelon peperomia. I have a stem of philodendron minima or Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. I have a few stems of Monstera adansonii, and I have a short stem of golden pothos. I wanted to do some vining plants and some peperomia so I can show you the 2 different mediums I use to propagate and the 2 different ways that I propagate as well. So let's get into it. Okay, so as you saw from the cuttings that I showed you, I've got 2 different types. So I've got your vining type, which have very obvious nodes and aerial roots. So these ones are really good for beginners to propagate with. And then I also took some more succulent type cuttings, and I'll show you how to root these as well. So 2 different types to just show you the 2 different ways that I like to propagate. So what I will be doing is I will be doing the plants with the aerial roots and the nodes in sphagnum moss, and I will be doing the peperomia, so the more succulent type cutting, in propagation pumice. Other plants that I like to take cuttings of and use to propagate in the propagation pumice is things like Hoya. I found they work really well in the pumice, and also things like your string of pearls and your chain of hearts. They also work really well in the pumice. Anything with aerial roots works really well in sphagnum moss, so I found out. Yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so what you're going to do with these ones is you're going to trim off the excess bit of stem that you don't need. So you're going to cut either side of the node, and this part is what you're going to be propagating. So that there is a really good cutting. So it's got some good aerial roots. So these will pretty much grow straight down into the moss quite quickly. And then your new plant or your new stem is going to grow from inside where the stem and the leaf petiole join. So that's one cutting. So the same with the golden pothos as well. So you're going to cut in between the stem . So with these 2 cuttings I can actually get 4 propagations out of them, because with peperomia you can do a stem cutting and you can also do a leaf cutting. So if you want to do a leaf cutting, what you do is you want to cut across the leaf, because these veins in the leaves is where your roots are going to come from. So you basically just want to cut across in a straight line, and then this part here is the part that the roots are going to grow from. So you're going to be putting that into your propagation pumice that way. And with your stem cutting, I like to cut a bit of the stem off. The roots are going to grow from obviously the part of the stem, and then that will go into the propagation pumice like that. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and there's 4. So I've got 4 cuttings. I'm going to go and fill these up with propagation sand and I will be back. So what I like to do is I like to dampen it down before I put the cuttings in, so I'll go and do that now. I might do a little experiment, so I will do one leaf cutting, so 2 parts of one of the leaf cutting with rooting agent, and the other 2 I won't use any, and I will see which one grows roots first. So what I do is I just tip a little bit of rooting hormone in the cap, dip the end that is going to be growing roots, so in terms of your stem cutting, you're dipping the stem in, and you basically are just pushing it down, pushing it down into your medium. And then with the leaf cutting, you do the same. So you want to put the oops, I snapped that, but that's okay. Put the rooting hormone on the bit that's going to be in contact with the prop medium. Because these leaves are quite delicate, make a little channel, pop that in, and then push the pumice up the sides. So those 2 have rooting hormone, the other ones won't, so obviously you're just going to pop that straight into there. And the same with this one. Make sure the bits that are going to be growing roots are in good contact with the prop medium, and that'll help them root. So I'm going to label these 2 rooting hormones so I know which one I dipped it in, and then we shall see in a few weeks to a month's time what one grew roots quicker. So what I'll do now is I'll take you inside and I'll show you how I set up my propagation box and how I set it up on the heat mat. So here I've just set my heat mat up on the floor because it's the only place that I have a power socket, and I put my propagation box onto the heat mat. Now what I'm going to do is, because I'm doing these cuttings with the nodes and the area roots, I'm going to be filling this with sphagnum moss, and that is going to be the medium that I'm going to propagate these plants in. So now I've got the damp sphagnum moss in there, I'm going to place my cuttings in and amongst the box here. So what you basically want to do is make sure that the node and the area roots are in the moss, because obviously that is where your new roots are going to be growing from. Okay, so I've got all my cuttings in. I have left some room for, obviously, if I want to take some more cuttings. So this is my other prop box, and as you can see it is half moss and half pumice. And this one here is pretty much all pumice propagations and pretty much all peperomia. So I've got watermelon peperomia, I've got wavy gravy peperomia, I have peperomia polybotria, I have some unknown variety of peperomia, I also have some peperomia marmorata, so I've got quite a few in there. Oh, there is one little stray philodendron florida, but yeah, that is my propagation setup. So basically I'm going to have all 3 boxes on the heat mat, and they will be here throughout the colder months. So guys, that concludes part 2 of my how to propagate in winter. I hope you enjoyed the mini series. I will no doubt do a follow-up video on how the cuttings are doing once they are starting to show sign of roots, so stay tuned for that. Don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!